When you're not constantly sharing updates, you have more energy to actually work. You're not splitting your focus between doing the work and documenting it. But more importantly, working quietly gives you something invaluable. It gives you the space to experiment, adjust, and sometimes completely pivot without having to explain yourself to anyone. Welcome to the Overthinking and Outthink podcast, the show where we turn overthinking into powerful action. I'm Chaz, and if you've ever felt like your mind is racing in a million directions and you're looking to see it to your advantage, you're in the right place. This podcast is all about helping introverts like you to stop overthinking and start outthinking. Whether you're building your online business, leveling up your leadership at your 9-to-5, or just finding ways to own your quiet power, every episode will leave you with actionable tips and inspiring stories to help you take the next step with purpose and confidence. So if you're ready to stop overthinking and start out thinking, let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a really crazy week. Freezing weather last week in Austin. Today, it's like 80 degrees. Crazy stuff, but I love this warm weather. So today we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about building something meaningful without having to talk about it or discuss it. If you ever felt pressured to share your journey or to just build in public, and you know that you'd rather work quietly, then this episode is definitely for you. As an introvert, there's nothing worse than being in a group setting and then they say, okay, well, we're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And I want you to tell everybody where you came from, your work history, all that kind of stuff. At that point, I just kind of freeze up. My heart starts pounding. My anxiety goes way up. I hate that crap. Why can't we just go to a class and enjoy the class, right? Why do I have to tell everybody who I am and what I do? And nobody really cares, right? So today we're going to focus on how to keep that momentum that we've been having from week to week without draining yourself through constant updates and social sharing. Because here's the truth. You don't need to broadcast every freaking step you make to see the progress. Think about some of the most powerful projects you've seen. By the time most people heard about them, tons of work had already happened behind the scenes. Well, today I'm going to show you exactly how to work this way. Strategically private, intentionally quiet, but incredibly effective. So let's start with something counterintuitive. While everyone else is busy posting about their goals, sharing their progress, and building in public, quiet achievers just like us are actually getting more done. And I'll tell you why. When you're not constantly sharing updates, you have more energy to actually work. You're not splitting your focus between doing the work and documenting it. You're not stopping mid-task to create content about it. I mean, why do we even need to do that? But more importantly, working quietly gives you something invaluable. It gives you the space to experiment, adjust, and sometimes completely pivot without having to explain yourself to anyone. This is where overthinking becomes your superpower. Think about it. Your analytical mind naturally spots potential issues before they even pop up as problems. It also considers multiple approaches before choosing one, and it looks for ways to improve processes. I don't know about you, but I'm always thinking of process improvement. It totally comes naturally, and it's just because of my overthinking. I always have to think about getting to the next step, somehow getting there. I'm always focusing on something strategic because the tactical day-to-day stuff just bores me. But when you work quietly, you can fully use these strengths without the pressure of performing for an audience. And believe me, that's a ton of pressure. Back in the day, I used to sing solos. I don't know how I did it, being an introvert, but I'll tell you what, it took me days to prepare myself. Not only that, I was so stressed out and full of anxiety that by the time that it came, all I did was hope that I didn't screw up the first line. And after it was over, I felt like I ran a marathon and I just enjoyed the rest and recouping my energy. Why did I put myself through that? Well, let's create your framework for quiet achievement. This isn't about hiding, it's about being strategic with your energy and your attention. Let's start with your private progress map. This is where you track everything, your ideas, your experiments, what's working, what isn't. But unlike public tracking, you can be completely honest here. No need to spin failures into learning opportunities or pretend you're always motivated. And here's how to set it up. So number one, create your testing ground. This is where you experiment with new ideas or approaches. The key is to make these experiments small enough that no one needs to know about them. Instead of announcing, I'm starting a business, you might quietly research 5 potential customers. Next, or number 2, establish your progress metrics. But instead of vanity metrics like followers or likes, focus on meaningful indicators. Like, did this work? Did this save time? Did it solve the problem? What kind of trends are we seeing? These are your real measures of progress. And then number 3, set up your decision points. These are specific moments when you'll decide whether to keep something private or to make it public. The key is that you choose these points. They're not dictated by what others expect. You know, one question I often hear is, well, how do I stay motivated without external accountability? Well, here's where we flip the script on traditional advice. Instead of seeking external accountability, we're going to build internal reliability. This works better for analytical minds because it aligns with how we naturally think. Or let's just start with milestone mapping. Break your project into clear phases, but keep them private. Each phase should have a specific completion criteria that you can measure. And then use decision gates, specific points where you evaluate your progress and decide the next steps. You can think of it like having regular private meetings with yourself. I know that's kind of goofy, but hey, we do that, don't we? So having private meetings with yourself where you review what's working and what needs to adjust. I mean, we're overthinking anyway. We might as well put that thinking into something positive. Let's talk about when and how to share your work, because eventually most projects need some level of visibility. But the key is doing it on your terms. First, understand the difference between sharing for validation and sharing for strategic purposes. You don't need to share your process unless it directly serves your goal. Create a visibility framework, a simple set of questions to help you decide what to share. And then ask yourself these questions. Does sharing serve my end goal? Or is this the most effective way to share it? Will sharing this now help or hinder my progress? When you do decide to share, do it strategically. Instead of constant updates, focus on meaningful milestones. And then you just need to show your results rather than process, unless showing the process serves a specific purpose. So here's some homework. This is what you need to do this week. First, create your private progress map and write down what you're working on and what success looks like to you. And then second, identify your next 3 milestones. Make them specific and measurable. And then third, decide on your first decision gate. When will you evaluate your progress? And then finally, write down your sharing criteria. What would make something worth sharing publicly? Remember, the most meaningful progress often happens quietly. You don't need to broadcast every step to make real progress. In fact, some of the most successful people do their best work away from the spot. And I have a feeling that pretty much all of you guys do this. Your tendency to think deeply and work quietly is not holding you back. It's setting you up for sustainable success, so use it to your advantage. I hope that resonated with you. And those simple steps are actually guiding you in the right direction. I know that as introverts, we hate when people just give us those surface instructions like, you should just go and do it. No, we need to figure out step-by-step ways to be able to get to the next level and use our introverted gifts to be able to get there. And this is what I'm trying to do. I used it for myself to be able to get the promotions and raises that I needed, and I was very successful with that in the corporate world. And I want to teach all of you to be able to do this, because the more people I teach means that there's more introverts getting out of their head and moving up in the business world. Well, next week we're going to talk about how to know when you're ready to take bigger steps. So until then, keep thinking deeply and keep building quietly. And most of all, always remember, you be you. This is Drew Chaz, and you've been listening to Overthinking to Outthink. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another deep thinker in your life. And don't forget to subscribe for more strategies on turning your internal dialogue into external success. Until next time, keep thinking deeply and keep acting strategically. And most of all, you be you.